Wow. Okay.
So you can
So
check it.
that's
Okay.
yeah,
So how are you doing today, Said?
very
So
good.
congratulations for becoming the I can't say. You just mentioned what happened, and we're very happy and honored to have you on our team. And yeah.
Yeah, so this was I was I'm surprised as well. I was recognized as the top 100 by Entrepreneurs and Innovators by the Top 100 magazine. It's I'm honored, but it also shows and reflects on the mentorships that I've gained and then the help that I've gathered from other people that helped me alongside my journey. So I'm very grateful and thankful, and I'm happy to be here today. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to help startups and to internationalize their ideas as they're kind of thinking about the growth journey. And I'm connected today from a beautiful cottage in north of Toronto. The weather is gorgeous. I wish I could turn the camera around so you guys could see. It's beautiful. So
Good for you.
yes, so maybe Sarvanjan, without further ado, we can just jump into the presentation. I'm so happy to be here with you today. Very lucky to have you on our side, and
Thank
I
you
hope
so
that,
much. You're welcome. So let me just
yes, go please to the first.
presenting. Yeah, here. So can you see?
I can see it, but it's a bit small for me. Let me check on my other device.
So
And
is it
guys,
better?
if anybody has any questions or if anyone has any comments, please share it with us. Or not sure how can we access to the questions section, but this is the first time we're doing it. But let's
Exactly. I think it in new comments. I know I just opened the comments, so new comments will display here as you see. But about the chat,
Saravanas, just in for future, I think it's better if you join on your computer, because when I look at this from my phone, the slides are very small. But anyways, all right. So we're gonna talk about.
I'm on my computer.
You're on your
I'm
computer.
Yeah, exactly.
So
On my laptop.
for some reason, it's small. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
So,
All right.
sorry, Sajan, where can you see the audience? I don't see anyone
I don't.
here.
I'm joined on the on my mobile, like on my phone as well, and I see it shows that there are 12 people in the room. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it's okay. And let's just start. We'll go through this and we'll see.
Okay, let me just expand it here, and yeah. Okay.
Okay. So we are going to talk about just one second. So we're going to talk about internationalization of innovative ideas. So if you can please go to the next slide. So I'm going to just talk a little bit
about you.
Yes, about myself and my journey. So basically, where I started and what I'm doing, and basically some context. I'm an engineer by background. I basically did engineering for my undergrad and master's, but I kind of wanted to. I was passionate about business, and that's why I started working in project finance for about 2.5 years, and then I started a startup myself. So I kind of experienced the whole journey of going from an idea on a piece of paper to a developed product and the growth phase to make our platform a nationwide company and exit it and sell it to Humanicare. So the company was in virtual care. It was kind of novel in 2014 when we started. but nowadays it's a kind of mainstream. But the point is, like that's kind of the experience that I brought into my advising as well. When I talk about this, like different life like cycles of the startups, it comes from lived experience, and it comes from my own, practical steps that I had to take and in my commercialization journey. And then since the acquisition and exit, I have been active in the field of basically helping and advising startups. I advise at Next Canada, which is an accelerator in Toronto, and also advise at Manitoba Technology Accelerator (MTA) since 2020. I'm like very proud to be part of their team, and we have helped well over, like I myself maybe like helped well over 150 companies in their internationalization journey. And today we're going to talk a little bit about like my learnings as I went through this path, and hopefully it will be helpful for the audience. But I've always seen business and myself as a global matter, so that's why I've like tried to build networks in beyond Canada, in Europe, and also in the MENA region. Please go to the next slide.
Yeah, great.
So, and I'm not sure how can we get questions, but guys, if we don't see your questions or whatnot, please do forgive us. This is kind of the first time we're doing a live on LinkedIn in this fashion, so we might experience some technical difficulty. Anyways, but let's just start by identifying what is a startup, right? And also some of the terms that we are using when we are looking at a startup. So a startup versus a small business, there are different with three respects. Number one, a small business grows, but growth is not going to be like super fast. When you're looking at a small business, you're always prioritizing profit over growth. But when you're like thinking of a startup, it's always growth first, and then your profitability or your unit economics. Also, a startup is different with a small business in terms of their financing and how the business is financed. Typically, small businesses are financed by a self-fund or loans, because there's a lot of times like physical tangible assets that businesses require to obtain, and that's like but a startup more often than not tends to get financing from venture capital firms or angel investors, so like basically equity deals rather than loans and basically notes, and also what's another very key feature of a startup is that it has to have a product. Even if it's a service, it's been delivered productized manner. So for example, like Uber is effectively a service, right? Like takes people from point A to point B, but it is delivered through a product, which is the application that helps you to connect to the driver, or the driver to connect to the passenger. So the growth phase of understand what is a startup, what is a startup versus a small business. I'm just going to also give an example. Like I'm passionate about the field of energy and also the field of healthcare, but let's set an example about, let's say, healthcare. Like if you're having a physical clinic, the business idea is to create a physical clinic for primary care, or for especially you want to get a license for let's say like an imaging center, right? So you start the business with somebody, you acquire some tangible physical assets, whether it's like an ultrasound device, whether it's I don't know, like beds, sheets. Maybe you buy an office for clinic, or you just rent it or whatnot, and you're not gonna grow like exponential, like attract patients, and you have a maximum capacity. It's not really scalable. You have to create a second location to grow. So this is a small business. But if you create a clinic that is like powered through, like, let's say, virtual care, you're connecting doctors or nurses or other to patients through video. So technically, like, you could serve people that are all location, whether it's like provincial or federal or whatnot, depends on the regulatory. And you can grow exponentially, i.e., if you can add more doctors and more patients without any barriers in terms of your capital investment or whatnot have you. So the first one is the second one is an example of a startup. So when you're thinking of a startup, there's some terminology that you have to consider. We have, for example, different stages and that the startup goes through, which is like seed, Series A, growth, and basically like scale, which is Series D's.
Mhm.
So these the alphabets of like the English alphabet. Each stage, typically, these are named based on the fundraisings that the startups do in their different in their life cycle. So typically in the seed or pre-seed stage, you're not supposed to have a very mature product. You're just supposed to have a good team, like a big opportunity. But in Series A, you're expected like some real market traction, some early signs of product market fit, and basically you're acquiring the capital to fine tune your growth. Whereas in the seed stage, a portion of the capital is going to be spent on market discovery and product discovery. They're important because these are the stages that a startup goes through as they're internationalize and also like even grow. Like if you really think about it, let's say come to Canada to expand to Canada. So it depends what stage are they. Typically, they have an ID, they have some traction in their home market, but when they come to a different market, like based on the stage that you are, you really tap into different resources throughout your journey. So if you can go please to the next slide. Sarvanos, can you please go to the next slide? Okay. So
Sure.
Thank you. So there are a few pillars that you have to consider as you are thinking of going to a different market. So, and I'm talking about now. We are talking about companies that do have an ID in their home market, and they have a product that they're selling in their home market. Now, like we are going to talk about internationalizing. A company exists in market A and wants to go to market B. So these are the pillars in my view, it is going to secure success for the startup or work against them. So one of the more important points when you're thinking of their internationalization journey is that how are you going to position your product in the new market? And this is very important when you're thinking of which country to go to, because there are, for example, if you talk about the startup visa, multiple countries offer opportunities for startups to relocate, like in the Europe, in EU, like Canada has a very good program, and all like different countries are thinking of ways to attract all these entrepreneurs. But when you're thinking about which country should I go to, you have to think about like how I'm going to position myself in this new market, who else is in the market, and which segment of the market am I going to look at when I'm thinking is in my expansion. The second one is, so there is a sweet spot. You've always heard about timing. Timing is actually very important in a life cycle like of a startup. Like we all know this example, like Facebook and then MySpace, right? Existed before Facebook, but like, and it kind of paved the path for the success of Facebook. But timing is when a market is very ready for your innovation, and you have to really time yourself, because one market might be very ready for your innovation, another market might not be as ready. So like basically when the market is not there, you kind of friction when you are expanding. The third one is IP strategy. This is very important because from two perspectives. IP, because like a startup, whether it's an app all the way to deep tech medical device, they have an IP, intellectual property. But you have to make sure when you're entering a market, A, you can protect your IP, and B, make sure that you're not infringing another IP. And that basically is not going to limit you in terms of being able to sell or operate in that market. And you would need some strategic advisory. Guys, we can all go and figure everything ourselves, but there's always an efficient and more efficient way of doing things, and
Exactly.
that's like it's always generally advised to get good advice that can really help you to jumpstart in a new market, and this is something that a lot of like it's overlooked, and you have to like have a very solid fundraising strategy. As the biggest question that you have to ask is like, where is going to be the from for my market expansion? Am I going to like basically partner up with a company? Am I going to, what's my channel to the customer? Am I going to make a lot of changes into my product? Who's going to pay for this transformation? And a lot of times you would like to work with the venture capital firms that are on the ground or have really good relationships in that destination market, and or work with accelerators, some of the main kind of connectors in the ecosystem that can really help you to access capital that you need. But also it goes sometimes beyond capital. It's basically like the connections that smart money, quote unquote, can bring to the table. Another very important item that people have to think about is regulatory. Basically, countries have different regulations, particularly when you're active in the fields of healthcare, insurance, fintech. These are the spaces that are regulatory heavy. So you have to really make sure that you have that looked up and looked at, and also from a corporate structure perspective, like how am I going to set up in this new country? Am I going to be a subsidiary of my home country company? Am I going to be a completely new and who's going to be involved? What's the shareholder agreement? If I'm adding an investor, like how would that look like? What kind of classes of shares do I issue? How many do I issue? Like how I can keep my cap table clean? So these are like some of the items that one needs to think about. Besides, like B2B interactions, effective B2B interactions. Look, this is my own thesis, and you might agree or disagree with. I think nowadays, particularly in the North American market, it's so expensive to access the customers through social channels. Like the customer acquisition cost is so high that even if you're active in the B2C, business to consumer space, you kind of need to at some point like work with some or interest to access to the a very good example of this is like you work with PR agencies, you work with influencers, like, so there are ways that you can kind of try to access to that customer through a business. So business to business is kind of like it's gaining more and more traction. A lot of like businesses that I see, at least, they're in the B2B space from the get-go. So, and you have to also think about when you're like the scalability, and this is a very important question. So you have to think about your think yourself, if I'm branch, like let's say I'm a company from Hong Kong, from China, or from Vietnam, whatnot, right? Turkey, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna go to set up a branch in the Europe, or in Canada, in Toronto, Vancouver. So what do I have to do? Do I have to completely replicate my team? Can I keep some of the operation in house in my home country, and then kind of tap into the market first before I kind of go all in? And how would that look like in that country? For example, Canada is a very vast country. It's actually like Toronto to Vancouver is like 6 hour, 5 hours flight. So a lot of times, if you are a company that requires physical locations and requires like access like a supply chain, accessing Toronto, and probably you're gonna be easier to go to New York or Buffalo than Vancouver, because it's just like very far, and like a different time zone. So all these like are things that you have to think about as you are basically thinking of your expansion. Another factor that like this is maybe more important for startups in the field of climate, or in the field of clean tech, like these are like really policy driven, like more likely than not you're facing a situation where either some sort of a regulator mandates your solution or does not. So you have to really think about, as you're thinking of going to a new market, you have to really like think, okay, is this, what is my sensitivity to the higher up policy decision making? Am I gonna become obsolete if a regulation changes, or if the policy changes, or if the direction of the regulator changes? So these are very important questions, and I am always a fan of working with the locals when you are basically expanding to the new market. And this is very important. I think like it's a lot of times underlooked, because guys, at the end of the day, like people from a market, they understand that market better. No matter how much you research, you look at it like online, you read reports, talk to people, like there's always a knowledge gap. So I think it's in the best interest of a company, particularly in key roles such as like your chief business like growth officer, your chief even like customer experience officer. So you want to really work with the locals, because a lot of like as much as the digital world is growing, and now we're talking to people from all over the world, from like this beautiful cottage and from your house, and through digital means. But at the end of the day, there's like a lived experience, like a cultural nuances are very, very important. And like this can be, I have funniest stories about people that wanted to choose a name when they were like trying to expand to Canada, and the name had some negative annotation, to itself, and all the way to like how I can sell, like the pricing, all that. It's really helpful to work with the locals as you're expanding. So if you can, please go to the next slide. Okay. So this one, like I want to talk about in the context of your internationalization. So when you're thinking about, like when like you're going from one market to another market, you have to really, like, first of all, make sure that your idea is valid in the new market as well. Is like of course you want to make sure that you're solving a real problem, your solution actually does fix that problem, and then it's a big enough market. But you want to make sure that in a systematic way you are validated in the new market. What I mean by that is that you're gonna, like, there's like a whole strategy on validation, and I actually have a different presentation that we did once, Sarvanas and I, on validation of a startup. But you
Right.
really want to make sure that you have, like, your ID has legs, for lack of a better word, in the new market. But also you want to make sure that you, like, the competitive landscape. Like if you're going to compete with like a major, like, big player, the market is like kind of has a dominant player. It's okay that to I'm not saying like don't compete with Facebook or Google or like Amazon or whatnot, but like in that case, then you have to have a very solid fundraising strategy, because like who was able to go against Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, because they had access to huge sums of money. So you have to really, like, pay attention, and research the market and make sure that your ID is valid, when you're, like, thinking of your internationalization journey. And also one good way of in the earliest stage figuring out if your concept, if your business has has a chance for success, is to talk to people, talk to the people on the ground, and don't talk to people. Talk to people not from a sales. I always tell my startups, do not try to sell to people that you talk to, especially at your earliest stage. Just talk to them. Do not put IDs in their mind. Make sure that first and foremost, like, what you want to do is actually valid. Like when I ask a question from you, I kind of feel like I'm gonna get upset if you tell me, look, your ID sucks, But if you push the question in a way that's like, show me and signal me that you're open to the feedback, I might be able to tell you, look, like, like this idea is not going to work for this and this and this reasons, right? So some of them are structural. Like, for example, well, like, I've talked to people that wanted to do things in Canada that already exists, for example, like, and like things that, for example, like there's a well adopted service by the government that, like, they're not gonna change it. Like, and realistically, they're not gonna come and say, oh, like, let's not use the software that we've used for like 100 years and then switch to a slightly better software, for our operations. So, like, what are you gonna do? Like, you're gonna tell the founder that, like, look, like, your solution might actually work in your home market. You might have really good traction, and then no doubt it's an amazing software solution, product, whatnot. But you really want to understand, like, who is the customer of your product in this new market, and are they going to really pay for it? Because that's the most important part. And when you validated this, IDs gets validated, but always, like, has a caveat to it, and that's like, how much money do I need to execute on this? So you have to really think about it, because going into a new market, it's an expensive it could be an expensive process, because you have to relocate yourself, your team. You have to maybe, like, get a new office, set up a new team, change your product, do the basic market research. So it's really, like, important to think about these things as you're and we are entrepreneurs, but before being an entrepreneur, we are human beings with needs. We have families we have to care for, and we have to adapt to a new situation. So it's always good to at least think about, what do I need when I'm going to this new market? And of course, like, as a startup, I always tell to my, like, people come to me and say, oh, I'm gonna, like, pay for it myself, like, or finance my startup all the way. I'm like, like, point of attracting an investor is not only the capital. is to work with people that can help to you. Like their chances are like the people that you're going to get money from, they're successful, they are connected, they know business, so they can actually help you to advance as you're going into a new market. So it's very important to think about, is what I'm doing valid, and B, how am I going to finance it? If this is important for us to think about even before, when we are thinking about internationalization and going to a new market. So if you can please go to the next slide. So this is like just a network of my own area of interest. Just wanted to like showcase some of the, because like a lot of people that talk to me, and I'm not sure if any of them are on the call today, on the meeting today, they ask me like, oh, like I have an idea in climate. How can I, what accelerators specialize in climate? And these are like a few that do specifically climate and can help, and it could be useful to you. And let Sarvanas or I know if you would like to get connected, because we might be able to connect you to some of these. Okay, so please go to the next slide. So this is like kind of, if we want to go through like as a journey, right? So think about our internationalization pathway as a like kind of a trip, basically. So we start with market research, like a detailed market research, and this can be primary or secondary, and or secondary. This, do not take it lightly. A lot of big companies tried to expand to new markets and failed. For example, Target, which is a major whole, like basically, like it's basically similar to Walmart. They are extremely successful in the States, but they try to come to Canada, and a lot of the people that have recently come, maybe they're not aware of it, but we did have Target in Canada, and they really tried to succeed, but they failed, right? And there's like, if you research it, there's a lot of like theories and reasons why it didn't work, and even also Nordstrom that actually closed down. These are like physical businesses, but also like I've come across like number of startups with amazing products that are really like solved an amazing problem in their home country, like but like when you're going to a new market, you have to really, really, really understand, and maybe like you have to change your solution if you want to succeed in this new market. Maybe you need to do like something a little bit different or majorly different. And the second step is for you to do a very, very like a detailed competitive landscape. You have to understand who is your customer, and then the next step, you have to understand what are the options that the customer has today, and how you're better than them, and what is going to be your price, basically, point, and when you're going to this new market. The third thing that I suggest people do is to get a strategic advisory. So you don't want to talk to an advisor when you're just like at the very, very beginning, because chances are like you're not going to be able to benefit from the advice as much, right? So I suggest you to do your like initial market research. I suggest you do your own initial competitive landscape and all that, and then and then after you've done that, then you can think about how can I get advice, and then at this point you can ask a smart question, and with your advisor, you can then do an assessment of your innovation and see if this is something that basically going to, how innovative are you going to be, and then what is your readiness for this new market. And then your advisor can help you to do some regulatory assessment. This is important, particularly, let's say, for healthcare startups, because as you may or may not know, healthcare is like very much like regulation driven, and a lot of companies, when they're thinking of expanding, they have to really think about like which regulator is basically has jurisdiction in that market. Like in Canada, we have Health Canada, for example, as one of the regulators in healthcare. In the States, we have FDA, basically Food and Drug Administration. For policy and privacy, we have provincial policies. We have like in the States have HIPAA here. We have PHIPAA, where each province has its own like kind of regulations. When it comes to like even you have like an innovative solution in climate, there are certain standards that you have to abide with when you are kind of like, if you want to like, let's say like roll out your product in this new market. So it's very important. And when you figure out that, okay, I have a good technology, I have my regulation is on my side, then you can think about like, what is going to be my corporate structure, and am I going to basically what's going to be my core? Am I going to be an Inc? Am I going to be an LP? Am I going to, a partnership? Am I going to be like, what's going to be the structure? And in each country is different. Like each country is different. Canada is probably one of the easiest places on earth to incorporate and set up. But like other countries are actually not like this. Like in Netherlands, like it's not as easy to set up your company. So you have to really think about that as well when you are basically thinking about your internationalization. And also you have to think about policy. Like this, I always say, like a lot of times, especially in Europe and North America, like the policies are clearly communicated, the platforms. So if you are a company that in any way, shape, or form is going to be sensitive to that policy, you have to research the high level strategic documents that are put out basically by the governments and digest that, because they specifically mention in those documents what is the platform, what are their goals and objectives, and if you can process that information to your advantage, then you can basically make sure that you have a smooth journey. And at this point, like you've researched the market, you know what you're doing is worthwhile, you know that, you have your advisor, you have your advisory team that is helping you, to assess the market. Now you have to figure out, okay, who do I connect with, which is basically like accelerators. In Canada, we have, for example, designated entities, a specific visa program. And you're going to think, okay, who am I going to get connected to? Like, do you have to compare the different programs and maybe in collaboration with your trusted advisor, pick one. But also after that, you have to think, okay, how am I going to finance this process? Is it going to be and at some point you're going to access capital. You're going to need to raise a round or something at some point in your journey. So you have to really study that right when you are basically in the process of your internationalization. So if you please can go, this is, I think, our last slide, the next one. So I think this is kind of some of the the stuff that we can help you with, that I kind of want to just glance through and don't spend much time on it, but we can help you with your problem definition. We can help you with mapping your the journey for you. We can help you to decide on which a market you can tap into and what sector you're going to fall under, and we can help you with your mentorship, with your innovation assessment, and with your policy research. We can be your consultant. We can help you with market research. We can also help you with a stakeholder relationship management when you're going through this internationalization journey and then commercialization in the destination market, you're gonna talk to and then get involved with a lot of different stakeholders, whether they're accelerators, designated entities, some of which I'm actually disclose I am an advisor in, and I've helped people to get connected. As just it's been something that we've been doing very successfully, but also we can help you when you are in this new market, and you're accessing the new market. You've actually figured out everything looks good. You've done your due diligence. You've crossed your I's and dots and T's and everything. We can help you with business development, accessing customer partnership, resellers, and some of the stakeholders that you're gonna tap into to be able to really commercialize and grow in this in the destination market. But also we can help you with fundraising, and if you have a good idea, if you have a solid business, you know what you want to do, and we can together work to assess your technology. We can help you to with fund scouting and services of that nature. So thank you so much, Sarvanas, for inviting me to this webinar. I appreciate the people that
you're welcome, John.
And if you go to the next slide, there is basically some contact information. You can reach out to myself or Sarvanas. If you have any questions, you can ask right now in the chat section. We're happy to answer. And I hope you guys found it useful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Let me just check if we can receive, because on my mobile, I saw some comments. Maybe you can join on your mobile too to check if you can receive any comments below the live screen. Here, okay. Hi, dear Dr. Samawat.
Hello.
Okay, hi. Thanks for joining the conversation. Dr. Samawat is here also. Yeah, thank you so much. Also, yeah.
I think Anum, I actually did a session with Anum. She has an amazing startup as well.
So, yeah, Anu was here too. Yeah, I saw her chat.
Yes, thanks for joining.
Okay, thank you so much. So, Saeedjan, if you think there is anything we can add, but I think there are ways of connection that you mentioned. They can connect with me or you on LinkedIn, and also there is a number here that you add on the screen. I can also add the number below the comments. I don't know if I can add it here, because can you just type something, Saeed, below the chat? I think, I don't know, maybe it's just for the viewers or the guests to add comments, right?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yes,
no problem.
Thanks everyone. I don't have much to add. I think we're Sarvanas and we're gonna do more of these lives as we are. I just want to share, and hear from you. So of course, please give us feedback in how we did and what topics would you like us to cover. I know, Puria, thanks for your comment. Some of our colleagues and friends in the immigration field, they've asked us to talk about these updates that startups are receiving, from the IRCC,